I am very sorry, but there is no way to not bury the lead today because there are four major stories. Hang until the end because I'm putting them where they belong. So they're all throughout today's information. You would think, looking around, that it's not a major news day, but it is, but you have to be able to find it. So here we go. I'm going to start with this analysis because earlier this morning I didn't think there was any news, so I wrote this, and it's still very cogent, so I'm going to say it anyway. I think the Tesla story is simple this morning. We just have some profit taking after a major run. My technical analyst theory would be that we could possibly bounce off of 410, which was that all-time high there that held for a couple of years. And we might even go through the 410. If there's some issue with the Fed's commentary today, some part of their decision is as hawkish as Nicholas Gibbs thought it might be last night. And so we could, drop down to 400 or drop down to, I think what it is, I'm forgetting the next level. We could, maybe a 365 or something. So there's all kinds of possibilities this morning, but you got to keep in mind, as every one of my co-hosts would say, there's nothing that says it can't go back and test these other points. The valuation of Tesla is over 50% story, over 50% of its story. Therefore, it can only go up if there's an emotional attachment to the story. There has to be a strong belief that Robotaxi and Optimus are almost here and that they're going to pay off big. But in particular, right now, it's about Robotaxi. Vehicle sales, energy storage, semi trucks, and all these other businesses matter. They're huge and they're very important and they're transforming the entire industries that they're a part of. But even with optimistic readings on their futures, the stock would be trading for maybe half of the current levels. Robotaxi and Optimus are at least half of the stock price. Now, there's big stories today that are about Tesla, some nonsense about FSD not working at railroad crossings, and Tesla settling a lawsuit about an accident prior to going to trial. Neither of these have anything to do with the stock being down this morning. Neither one of these are consequential long term. Tesla's up 18% for the week. 18% for the week. And for the last 30 days, it's also up 18%. It's up 31% over the last 3 months. It's up 74% over the past year. And these obviously are all these. I mean, it's obviously extremely good. These are, how much better can you do than that? So a little profit taking should be no shock. Remember, there's lots of classes of stock owners. There's day traders, and there's just traders, and there's fundamental followers, and there's technical only followers, and there's some combination of all of the above. There's diversified owners. There's a bunch of long-term holders that have various concentrations in Tesla, including being all in. I also don't buy the idea that institutional investors are stupid or that they're super smart. I think there's a massive range. Most of them don't have nearly enough time or enough bandwidth to get deep into every single holding. In fact, they don't even have time or the bandwidth to get deep into their favorites. I really, truly believe that because I believe these things that I just said because I read their notes, I read their commentaries. These experts, I read them every day, and they're full of nonsense. Even the biggest ones have absolutely wrong information on them, in them, stuff that is just crazy. So your decision to become smarter than all of these guys does matter. I truly believe that the big deal, the big bet, the big thing that you have is information arbitrage. You, to the extent that you study it, and I'm giving you right here, if you don't believe it, you shouldn't even listen to me. I'm giving you the facts, and if you see stuff that's not factual in anything that I say, please let me know in the commentary or send me a DM on X and let me know, Randy, that was just factually wrong, and I'll research the heck out of it until I make sure that it's correct. So information arbitrage, that's what this channel is all about. This is the advantage that you get over everybody else in the stock market. According to AMX Freeze, listen to this now. This is story number one of the four or five, I forget how many. These are all huge. Believe me, they're huge. Grok 4 just smashed the AGI benchmarks, achieving even higher scores than its previous high with open program synthesis. No other model can even come close and has not passed Grok 4 previous raw performance. Currently, Grok is more closer, he says, more closer. Thank you very much. Currently, Grok 4 is more closer to AGI than any other AI models. And Elon Musk responds to this by saying, I now think that xAI has a chance of reaching AGI with Grok 5. I have never thought that before. Now, I feel like holding the book for a week or a month until we find out whether Grok 5 does plow through. But it's not that hard to do a re-release of the book if, in fact, that happens and add to the content. So that's what I might have to do after all. So this is story number one. For the very first time, Elon Musk believes that Grok 5 might hit AGI. Now, that is about as big a story as you're going to hear this year. Now, it's not going to get any coverage. It's not, oh, it might be talked about on the All In podcast this weekend or on a B2G or some of the ones that I watch, some of these, the ones that are really into it. No, this is like earth-shattering news, okay? If Grok 5 achieves AGI. No, it's yeah, we don't even know what that even means. That's why I wrote the book. Well, I wrote the book. I and 8 of my pals. Okay, mortgage rates. Now listen to this, folks. Mortgage rates hit their lowest in almost 2 years at 6.16. I believe we're going into the fives shortly, and it's going to matter. Why is it going to matter? Well, then there's this. Privately owned housing units authorized by building permits in August were at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.3 million versus 1.31 million versus 1.37 expected, which was already down. This is 3.7% below the revised July rate of 1.36 million, and it's 11.1% below August 2024 rate of 1.476. Single-family authorizations in August were at a rate of 856, which is 2% below the revised July figure. Authorization of units in buildings with 5 or more units were also down. Housing starts, privately owned housing starts in August were at a seasonally adjusted rate of 1.30, almost 1.31, versus again 1.37 expected. This is 8.5% below the revised July estimate and is 6% below the August rate. Single-family housing starts in August were at a rate of 890,000, which is 7% below the revised July figure. This is 20% of the net of business. 20% of business is housing. Okay, and these are down from low numbers. This is not good. This is a potential horrific situation if it continues this way. I don't believe it's going to. I believe the Fed is going to cut. I believe mortgage rates are going to come down, and I believe this will be reversed quickly. So it's not going to become a horrible thing, but it is right now a horrible thing. The 𝐤𝐦𝐚𝐲 letter says this, JP Morgan talking about Fed cuts this morning. When the Fed cuts rates, when the S&P is within 1% of all-time high, it results in an average return of 15% over the next 12 months. 15% over the next 12 months. Furthermore, according to our research, one month performance is a little more spotty, with stocks heading lower 50% of the time. History says that near-term velocity after Wednesday's rate cut will be a long-term buying opportunity. Now, that's not even in my top 5. Well, maybe it is. Maybe that's number 5 of the news this morning. But mortgage rates being almost at 5% is huge, especially when you especially when you put it in context of what's happening with housing starts and building permits. All right. AGI is, of course, the lead story, but there's still more. Yeah, keep hanging in there. There's more. By the way, did I say this is Randy Kirk? I almost forgot to say this is Randy Kirk, but then many of you already know that. All right. Now we've got, in addition to this, we've got, even though the number for the CPI, I'm sorry, the truflation number for the CPI was only 2.29 over, I was at 2.29 for overnight. It's now at 1.7 year over year. 1.7 year over year. Uh, you can't make this stuff up. This is, I know that the Fed looks at these numbers. The Fed is looking at these housing numbers, and they're looking at truflation. They do look at truflation because I think they understand that the numbers that they're getting from the CPI and PPI, they're not that great. Now, the PPI would tend to indicate what we're seeing on this on these numbers from truflation. But the CPI, which has got stupid numbers, ridiculous numbers, 39% of the numbers were made up this month. 39%, not 33, which we heard last month. It's now 39. I think maybe it's 37. I could be wrong in that. But whatever it is, it's even more than it was last month that they're just making up. They're just going, well, we don't have that number, so we'll guess. Now, here's the next big story. This is huge, huge, huge. Trump's approval number last night in the overnight, 54.17%. This is going up every day, 54.17%. He's now at 50% on the 5-day trailing. But the last 3 nights, 3 days, it's been 53, a little bit under 53, and now 54 today. This is huge. It's really a big deal. And I told you yesterday what I think is going on. I believe people are waking up. You're seeing people say, I'm leaving the Democratic Party over this terror, this horrific attitude on the part of the left-wing progressives that violence is okay in the political discourse. And they're leaving in droves. And I think they're recognizing what they've been a part of. The Atlanta Fed, this is story number 5. The Atlanta Feds increased their number for the GDP for this month. And this is even with these horrible housing numbers. They're increasing their third quarter to 3.4%. And they're saying this is because of big increases in expenditures and investments. Both investments and expenditures. Well, you got expenditures going up. That's good because that's holding up the economy right now. But you got investments going up, which means the future is good. I don't know. Do you think that was enough good news for one morning? I mean, this is incredible. And I left one out. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was about Tesla. It was about robotaxi. And I didn't put it in here, and I can't come up with it. But it was another. It was a big one having to do with. Oh, anyway, okay. I don't know what I'm. I don't. Maybe I'll put it in the very first comment on on YouTube. Maybe I'll put it up on X as the story I forgot. And it's like, and I can't, and I unfortunately I can't even come up with it in my head right now. All right, let's take a look at where things are right now. We've got Tesla down 2% now. That's about as much as it's been down this morning. It's down just a little bit more. Let's see, what was the low for the day? The low for the day, got to get back here. Here we go. Yeah, the low for the day, 409.67. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're going to bounce off of. We may test it again today, or we may not, but that's possible. We got a couple hours to go before the Fed talks, and then who knows? It might go up after that. But there you go. We're testing that 410. That's my little technical game that I play. I could be right or wrong. Okay, let's go ahead from there. Oops, we got to go from there into the overall. We got the Dow up 0.54. That would suggest the things we've been talking about, that the mid caps, the old-fashioned company, the old companies the manufacturing, all that kind of stuff is going to benefit from the thing that's happening today with the Fed. And we have got NASDAQ down 0.42. We've got S&P down zero point 0.1. And we've got the Magnificent Seven mostly down this morning, including NVIDIA, which has got these issues with China right now, down 2.44. We got the VIX up a little this morning at 16.42. That's odd, but still, totally risk on. And then we've got the Cathie Woods are mixed this morning. Yeah, completely and totally mixed this morning, waiting for those numbers to come in. But as you can tell, markets are flat. I keep joking about the fact that, boy, I got this one right. I said Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday morning would be flat. You don't even see people positioning this morning. It's really funny. There's almost no activity, in terms of positioning this morning. I thought there could be some activity this morning in that direction. Okay, let's go and take a look at what's happening with the bonds. They're not even positioning on the bonds. The bonds this morning are unchanged. Over the course of the last couple of hours, I've seen it be up and I've seen it be down, but right now it's unchanged, but it's at 4.026. So yeah, I think there's a very strong chance we get into the threes, maybe even later today. We've got oil down 3 cents. That's about as close to unchanged as it can be. Natural gas up 1.58 to $3.15. That's starting to move steadily up. You've got gold off this morning, but it's like, 0.18% or $6.70. Silver also up at 1.37%, and copper 1.40 down. You got the dollar is up actually. Point 0.11. Not a ton, but up a little. And you've got Bitcoin off this morning, $952 at 115.7. Now there you go again. It's been up strongly the last week or so. So this could easily be profit taking. And then Ethereum is up, down 0.07, just a tad. So that not very much there either. All right, so that's what you got going on. And what you got going on today is Brian Wang coming up here in a little while at probably around 4 o'clock. We'll see. My inclination would be to try to have Brian Wang on around the same time as soon after the Fed as possible. But we'll see what his availability is later today. And then tonight, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do at 7:45, but you will have an amazing show. I might follow up on these 4 huge breaking stories and the 5th one, which somehow I forgot to include. But anyway, we will, that's possible, is that will be tonight's story will be a follow-up on these amazing, huge stories. Now, yesterday's huge story was about Uber trucking. That's big. That's a huge, big deal. And nobody's covering that. All right. So that's all I got for you. So until later today, we'll see what happens with the Fed. It's been great talking to you.